She had come into the world 7 years before the crest, a fact that was remembered by most people, though forgotten by the family. The general's coat of arms was old and large. One's back might well creak with dignity of this one alone, to say nothing of the two of them. And there was indeed a creaking in the lady's back when she drove stiff and stately to the court balls. The general was old and grey, but he knew how to sit on a horse, and rode out every day with a groom at a respectful distance behind him. When he arrived at a party, it was as if he had ridden into the room on his high horse, and he wore so many decorations that it was almost unbelievable. But that was by no means his fault. When a very young man, he had performed military duties by taking part in the great autumnal war games that used to be held in times of peace. He always told an anecdote of those days, his only one. The officer under him cut off and captured one of the princes, and the prince and his little troop, all prisoners like himself, had to ride back to towns behind the general. It was an event never to be forgotten, and the general told it again and again, year after year, always ending with the remarkable words he had spoken when he returned the prince's sword to him. "Only my subaltern officer could have made your Royal Highness a prisoner. I? Never." Whereupon the prince answered, "You are incomparable." The general had never seen active service, for when war came to his native land, he went on diplomatic missions through 3 foreign countries. He spoke French until he had almost forgotten his own language. He danced beautifully, and he rode well. Decorations blossomed on his blouse in indescribable abundance. Sentinels presented arms to him. One of the prettiest of the girls presented herself to him and became his wife. And they had a lovely little girl, so pretty that she seemed to have fallen from heaven. And the porter's son danced in the garden before her as soon as she was old enough to take notice, and gave her all his colored drawings. And she looked at them and was so delighted with them that she tore them to pieces. She was so beautiful and charming. "My rose petal," said the general's wife, "you were born to be the bride of a prince." The prince was already standing outside the door, but no one knew it. People can't see much farther than the doorstep. "The other day our boy shared his bread and butter with her," said the porter's wife. "There was neither cheese nor meat with it, but she enjoyed it every bit as much as roast beef. There'd have been a fine hullabaloo if the general and his wife had seen that little party. But they didn't." George had shared his bread and butter with little Emily, and gladly would he have shared his very heart with her, if only it would have pleased her. He was a good boy, wide awake and intelligent, and now he was studying drawing at the evening at the academy. Little Emily, too, was advancing in learning. She talked French and had a dancing master. "George is going to be confirmed at Easter," said the porter's wife. That was how far George was advanced. "It would be very sensible to have him serve an apprenticeship," said the father, "in some good profession, of course, and then we would have him out of the house." "But he could come home at nights to sleep," said the mother. "It wouldn't be easy to find a master who had a spare room, and we'd have to give him clothes, too. The little food he eats now we can easily afford to give him. He's happy with a couple of boiled potatoes. Then he has his teaching free. Just let him go on the way he is, and he'll turn out a blessing to us, you may be sure. Didn't the professor say so?" The confirmation clothes were ready. Mother did the sewing herself, but the cloth had been cut by the tailor, and he knew how to cut it. The porter's wife said that if he had only been better placed and could have opened a shop with apprentices, he could have become court tailor. Yes, the clothes were ready, and the candidate was ready. On confirmation day, George received a great pocket watch from his godfather, the flax dealer's old clerk, the wealthiest of George's godfathers. The watch was old and honored. It was always a little fast, but that's better than being too slow. It was a precious present, and from the generals there came a hymn book bound in leather, sent by the little lady to whom George had given his pictures. On the flyleaf were written his name and her name as his gracious well-wisher. This was written according to the dictation of the general's wife, and the general himself had read it through and said, "Charmant." "That was really a great courtesy from a family of such rank," said the porter's wife, and George would have to go upstairs in his confirmation clothes and carrying his hymn book to thank them. The general's wife had a number of compresses on her head, for she had one of her bad headaches, which always came when she was bored. She looked very kindly at George.